Viewers, greetings. I'm your host, Dr. Wolfula, and when I'm not fixing up an old Plymouth Fury that ends up killing people, not because it's haunted, but because I'm just a reckless driver, I'm here at the Wolfula reviewing movies. In this video, I'll be covering John Carpenter's adaptation of the Stephen King novel, Christine, about an evil car with a mind of its own, released in 1983, the same year the book was published. In fact, Carpenter started filming his Christine adaptation the same month the book was published. To my knowledge, Christine is the only Stephen King book that got a movie adaptation the same year it was published.
Come on, prick! We're not finished yet!
1983 was a big year for Stephen King. Besides Christine, the same year he also published Pet Sematary and Cycle of the Werewolf, while Cujo and The Dead Zone also got movie adaptations in 83. King's novels were steadily growing in popularity. He was consistently a bestseller, and because of his cocaine addiction, he could really crank out books, quickly becoming a brand name in horror and using the wealth his novels gave him to buy even more cocaine.
And you know something? I sort of enjoyed it.
The producer of Christine's film adaptation, Richard Kobritz, who had before produced Tobe Hooper's adaptation of another King book, Salem's Lot, well, Kobritz got early access to King's manuscripts and figured that getting an adaptation of a Stephen King book in theaters while the book was fresh on the shelves would set it apart from the competition and give it an edge against King adaptations that came out years after the books were published. When you're fast-tracking a film, you need a good director who can work efficiently. Richard Kobritz first eyed John Carpenter as director after working with Carpenter on Someone's Watching Me. But, ironically, Carpenter was busy working on an adaptation of Firestarter, another Stephen King book. Production delays on Firestarter, though, led to Carpenter taking the reins on Christine, and double ironically, John Carpenter didn't end up directing Firestarter at all, but he did end up doing the musical score for the shittier 2022 remake. You take what you can get. Carpenter has made it clear, though, that, like Halloween, Christine was just a job for him, not a passion project, and he didn't even think Stephen King's book was scary. Carpenter's previous film was The Thing, one of his best films, but it underperformed and wasn't widely appreciated at the time.
I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking couch!
So Carpenter needed a project that would be a hit so he could bounce back and direct the projects he wanted to do, and a Stephen King adaptation seemed like a sure thing. So does John Carpenter's Christine burn rubber, or is it running on empty? Let's find out in my review of Christine. But first I have a message from my sponsor, me! Pledge to my Patreon today to support the channel, help it continue to grow, and you'll also get access to weekly movie nights every Sunday and archive commentaries if you miss the movie nights live. Just $5 a month to get a movie night every week. Pledge to patreon.com/Dr. Wolfula if you're interested, and I thank you in advance. John Carpenter's Christine differs from the book in one major way right away. In the book, Christine is haunted by the evil spirit of Roland D. LeBay, the original owner of the titular 1958 Plymouth Fury.
When he got her, she had 6 miles on the odometer. Goddamn Roland went through hell and back with Christine.
Christine in the book might be an evil car on her own, but it's implied that she's being operated by the ghost of LeBay. The ghost of a guy is the one driving the car isn't driving itself. In the movie, though, it's made clear that Christine came off the production line in 1958 looking damn sexy, but with a mind of its own and sinister intentions. This is Carpenter's typical approach to the evil in his horror films, starting with Michael Myers. Carpenter doesn't want to get caught up on explanations, getting too specific with an origin story. He wants to leave it up to you whether or not there's a reason for evil, what it could be, and it's scarier not understanding pure evil. The reasons and motivations behind it. What makes a 6-year-old kill? What makes a car kill? Who fucking knows, and who really cares? What matters is it's happening. Further mirroring Carpenter's Halloween, after the opening murder, Christine jumps ahead to 1978. A new school year has begun for high school senior Dennis Gilder and his nerdy pal Arnie Cunningham, or Cuntingham.
Arnie Cunningham.
Played by John Stockwell and Keith Gordon, respectively. Arnie is, visually, as cliched a geek as you can possibly get, but personality-wise, he's much more like what a nerd is like in real life. Totally mediocre. He's not particularly smart, he's cowardly, inept, and immature.
Last night, we were playing Scrabble, so right at the end, I had this choice of putting down ratio for like 5 lousy points, or fellatio.
Just kinda hopeless. Arnie has domineering parents who hold him back from doing the things he wants to do with his life, being the person he wants to be.
You could have consulted with us.
I consulted with you about every damn thing I've ever done. If it's something I want, then I get outvoted 2-1.
Arnie is also clearly a Stephen King self-insert, which isn't too surprising seeing as how half of King's characters are self-inserts, but usually they're adult authors. Arnie's childhood pal Dennis is at least cool, a football player who sticks up for Arnie when he doesn't stand up for himself.
Done a knife reprimand. You want to make me put it down?
And Dennis even tries to get Arnie laid.
Now that we're going to be seniors, I figured it's about time that we got you laid.
I think maybe I'll just beat off.
Arnie's Dennis's fixer-upper, but Arnie ends up finding a fixer-upper for himself in the form of Christine, a rundown red 1958 Plymouth Fury, rotting away in the yard of a dilapidated home owned by George LeBay, played by the old man from Home Alone.
She had the smell of a brand new car. That's just about the finest smell in the world. Except maybe for pussy.
George's brother Roland owned the car originally, but since Roland is dead, he's not gonna miss the car at all. Seemingly.
Died 6 weeks ago. I've been asking 300. Make it 250 for you.
So George sells Arnie the junker, and Arnie rents himself a garage space to work on Christine at a nearby scrapyard run by the charismatic Will Darnell.
That's the last time you run that mechanical asshole in here without an exhaust hose. I catch you doing it one time and you're out, you understand?
Yes.
As Arnie fixes up Christine, making her pristine, Arnie starts to become a lot more casual and outgoing, but a lot more cruel and dismissive to his parents and friend.
Arnold Cunningham, you are going to find yourself with no friends at all if you keep treating people this way.
Get off my back!
Everyone around Arnie realizes that his fixation on his new car is changing him, turning him into a total dick.
Oh, this is just me. Get away from her! Get away from her!
But it's not just that. Dennis finds out that the car has racked up quite a body count in the past.
Probably the only thing my brother ever loved in his whole rotten life was that car. He had a 5-year-old daughter choked to death in her. He just rode around with the radio blaring, not a care in the world except for Christine.
But before he can really intervene, Dennis ends up taken out of commission during a football game. Spotting Arnie with the fully restored Christine swapping spit with the girl Dennis really wanted to bang. That's enough to put anyone in a coma. The structure of Christine and the film's overall vibe really reminds me of an earlier film Carpenter produced that was released the same year as The Thing, and was also a financial disappointment. Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. Both movies do a lot of skipping around in time, and there's just something about Christine's Rockbridge, California setting that feels eerily similar to the empty Santa Mira of Halloween 3. Like it's a place where anything can pop out and get you. You're on your own. The similar vibes between Christine and Halloween 3 could probably just be attributed to John Carpenter's and Alan Howard's synth scores for both films being really similar. Hearing beeps and boops as a guy gets chased in the dead of night is pure Carpenter. Arnie's transformation over the course of Christine can be taken a couple different ways.
Has it ever occurred to you that part of being a parent is trying to kill your kids? See you around, pal.
On one hand, he seems like he's just dressing and acting like what a nerd thinks a cool guy is like from watching old movies. Slick back hair, wearing jackets with the collars popped up, vests straight out of Aladdin. He kinda just looks like a nerd still, but in a different kind of way.
Almost makes you feel kind of sorry for the little bastard, huh?
It can be argued that Arnie's cool guy look is him looking like a cool guy from the 50s, the era Christine was manufactured, but I don't know what Lee would see in this guy. He looks like a tool. On the other hand with Arnie, and it's a lot more subtle without the added context from the book, well, as Arnie spends more time with Christine, he increasingly becomes more and more influenced or possessed by the spirit of Christine's original owner, Roland D. LeBay, who was the meanest son of a bitch according to folks who knew him.
Son of a bitch was so mean, you could have poured boiling water down his throat, he would have pissed ice cubes.
So Arnie consequently becomes more of a dick like Roland was, but Arnie also inherits Roland's affectations, like calling people shitters.
No shitter ever came between him and Christine. If they did, watch out.
No shitter ever came between me and Christine!
Arnie is just increasingly becoming more Roland than Arnie the more time he spends with Christine.
Hey, take your mitts off me, motherfucker!
Arnie also shares some parallels with a character from an earlier Stephen King book, Harold Lauder from The Stand, who starts out as a Stephen King-like dweeb, but changes as he becomes influenced by The Stand's villain, Randall Flagg, and the Coronemic version of that character is fucking brutal to look at wearing that dumbass leather jacket. I guess this is just the kind of cool guy Stephen King wishes he could be.
I mean, do we assume that they're all right just because they remember how to shake hands?
Christine isn't just about a dickhead becoming more of a dickhead, though.
Hey, don't you like this beer? Thought you liked beer.
The car is alive, and it soon makes a lot of people the exact opposite of that. Christine becomes jealous of Arnie's relationships, especially with Lee, who nearly dies the same way Roland D. LeBay's daughter died. And Arnie is more or less ambivalent towards his girlfriend nearly dying in his car.
I'm not going in that car again.
Don't you blame your choking on Christine.
But takes jabs against his beloved car personally.
See, we got the old rust bucket tonight.
You wanna watch what you call my car? She's real sensitive.
It's pretty clear that Arnie knows Christine is alive very early on.
Come on, Christine. It's all right. Everything is the same.
But is too blinded by the car's influence to see anything wrong with a car being alive. The film does a fantastic job making Christine not only seem alive, but have a personality too, without resorting to anthropomorphizing her like something out of Pixar or those cursed Chevron commercials.
So, I like having all the options.
All it takes to give Christine a personality is the upbeat rock and roll music eerily played from its radio. Only about 5,000 of the 58 Plymouth Furies were manufactured in total, making it a particularly rare car to build a movie around, and the Fury only came in one color in real life, white, and ironically, the car described in the book sounded more like a Plymouth Belvedere or a Savoy. Carpenter was able to acquire 24 Furies for the film that were in various states of repair, and from these cars was able to construct 17 Plymouth Furies with the custom red paint job described in the book, but the Christine scene in action sequences was often a stunt car, a Plymouth Belvedere or Savoy altered to look like a Fury.
That Cunningham's car.
I know where he keeps it.
Eventually, bullies seeking vengeance against Arnie for being a victim of their antics who happen to get them into trouble.
You're gonna wish you were never fucking born!
Well, they fuck up Christine, and she's still playing by Toy Story rules at this point. She's unable to defend herself.
This car could be systematic, hydromatic, ultramatic. Why could be greased lightning?
Leaving Arnie distraught upon witnessing Christine's destruction. But don't worry, Arnie. Christine can regenerate, but, you know, if she could do that this whole time, she could have saved Arnie a lot of time rebuilding her to begin with. Or maybe Christine is just powered by Arnie's love. Aww. The regeneration scene was accomplished by effects supervisor Roy Arbogast stripping a car of its engine and mounting hydraulics that could pull the car into itself. The footage of this was then reversed to make it look like the car was putting itself back together. An ingenious effect that today could be accomplished with CGI and look a lot shittier. The revived Christine gets even with Arnie's bullies, one of whom makes the mistake of bringing a knife to an automobile fight. The mysterious death of Moochie in the alley results in a detective suspecting Arnie of foul play, Detective Junkins, played by the late Harry Dean Stanton.
Moochie Welch kind of got wiped off too, didn't he?
I don't know.
Scout's honor?
I'm not a scout.
Anytime I watch Christine, I forget Harry Dean Stanton is in this movie. And then when there's a scene with him in it, I say, Harry Dean Stanton is in this movie?
Why do you keep butting into my life?
Christine makes fast work of Arnie's remaining bullies, ramming into one of them, and you know, Stu Charno may have survived Friday the 13th Part 2, but he definitely didn't survive this movie. Savage as fuck! The last surviving bully, the one with the sideburns, ends up burning alive by the side of a road. And you know, just for talking shit about her so much, Christine kills the fuck out of Darnell, the garage owner. Be careful what you say about somebody's car. You never know if it's alive and will try to murder you.
Bad taste in cars. You can't polish a turd.
Dennis is the only one savvy to Arnie's car, just, killing people. So Dennis takes it upon himself to kill the killer car by setting up a battle appointment at Darnell's garage, fighting Christine with a bulldozer. And that animated flick Monster House was basically Christine if it was about an evil house instead of an evil car. But, Monster House at least had Kevin James in it.
All right, kids, out of the trash cans. Let's go.
Anyway, during the skirmish, Arnie ends up dying the way he lived, with a shard of glass in his torso. Actually, now that I think about it, Arnie didn't live like that at all. After Christine spends a moment to mourn, she seeks swift vengeance, but ends up becoming scrap pizza, eventually. It takes a while to kill a car that can unkill itself after all, but finally Christine becomes a cube of dusty metal. Until Christine 2, at least. Okay, there's no Christine 2, but the film as it was fairly well received on release, and did better at the box office than The Thing did, giving Carpenter the bounce back he needed, and Carpenter was happy with the final film and the experience making it. Ironically, Stephen King didn't like the film adaptation of Christine, feeling that it was boring, but hey, King isn't the best authority on adaptations of his own work.
I finally decided if you want something done right, you ought to do it yourself.
I will say, though, that Christine is a solid horror flick. Keith Gordon does a great job embodying Arnie Cunningham and his dark character arc, and the film has that great atmosphere and score you come to expect from a Carpenter film in his prime. I will also say, though, that the movie takes a while to get going and drags a bit towards the end, mostly waiting for more scenes with the film's titular standout Christine doing her thing. But what there is of Christine getting to let loose is fantastic. I give Christine an Arnie Cunningham out of the cooler Arnie Cunningham.
God, I hate rock and roll.
Before I go, give Goulashes and I's new riff view of Scooby-Doo The Mystery Begins a watch on the Gulag channel today. Link in the description, subscribe to the Gulag channel too. I command it. Finally, now it's time for Doc's fan mail. Humongous420 painted me this lovely rendition of Charlie the Android from Scooby-Doo at the Wolfula. If only he'd really visit me. Stitches made me this wonderful painting of Scooby-Me with Daphne and Velma. In addition to that, she sent me a wide variety of Scooby items, including Shaggy and Scooby dolls, socks, and storybooks. Zoinks! If you have any fan mail to send me, be it a letter, artwork, or a film you'd like to see me review, feel free to send it to my P.O. Box, Dr. Wolfula, P.O. Box 618-305, Orlando, Florida 32861. If you'd rather just send me an email, you can reach me at drwolfulafanmail@gmail.com. This video is made possible through the pledges of my Patreon supporters, and I'd like to give a very special thanks to the kind folks pledged to my shoutouts tier. All of the support on Patreon means a lot to me, and it helps my dark influence continue to grow. If you like this video, like it, and if you loved it, click the subscribe and bell buttons for more vids. Be sure to also keep in touch by following me on social media at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dr. Wolfula. While I still have your attention, consider pledging to my Patreon to support the channel and get bonus content like previews, VIP Discord server access, private movie night streams, and credits in videos. Consider pledging at patreon.com/Dr. Wolfula. Also, check out official Dr. Wolfula t-shirts and other merch on tpublic.com/user/Dr. Wolfula. Thanks for watching. See you all next time. Dr. Wolfula signing out.